One of the common jokes is that Ben Folds himself has enough of an ego for three people, so that rounds out the five.
Yeah.
Welcome to Song Album Career. I'm Chris Bragg, and with me is David Thurmaier, and today we'll be talking about a 1999 release from Ben Folds 5, and it's their album, The Unauthorized Biography of Reinhold Messner. Now, Dave and I, right before we got on, were talking about why are they called Ben Folds 5? This isn't the reason, but a fun factoid we found out.
A nice coincidence. We just noticed looking up at Ben Folds' biography that he has five wives, or has had five wives and five divorces. So,
Yeah.
uh, married, first wife was a friend from grade school, I think met in first grade.
And she
Fourth
actually
wife, yes,
co-authors
she co-write. That's right.
one of the
That's right.
tracks on the album, which would
Anna
be
Goodman, that's right.
yeah.
And then after the fourth wife, he said, "I'm done. I'm just not the marrying type." And then he married another one and just got divorced. So,
Yeah. So
uh,
that is Ben Folds 5. No, that's not why
no,
they're
no.
called Ben Folds 5. I guess they were, they were a trio. This is Ben Folds 5 is three people, not
Not
five
five.
people.
Yeah.
The motivation behind the name was I think it sounds better
Yeah.
than Ben Folds 3. One of the common jokes is that Ben Folds himself has enough of an ego for three people, so that rounds out the five.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. Yeah.
It's funny though that you brought up the divorce thing offline because I was thinking about that. That kind of goes through this album quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's about breakups. My ex-wives all despise me is a line in the song Army. So it's not just a frivolous factoid about Ben Folds. I think it's like informs his writing quite a bit.
Yeah, it does. And, reading different reviews and discussions about this album, it's seen, two things really struck out to me. One is that it can be seen as a concept album along the same lines as you were just alluding to there, and in an interesting way, from backwards from death to life. So it starts with narcolepsy as the death part or the falling asleep part, and then also ends with a lullaby. And that's
Hmm.
the birth, but in kind of a positive way. But another thing that goes with that is the album originally I read was Ben Folds brought it in. It was going to be one big song, and
Yeah.
then the other guys were like, and the record company especially was like, I don't think it's a good idea to have a 40-minute song.
Yeah, a couple of tracks had like long introductions and
Right.
then they
Instrumentals.
chopped it out and cut it down to the essential pop hit
Yeah,
version of it.
exactly.
Like Hospital Song does kind of flow right into Army.
Yeah.
Originally, I think it was Hospital Song Army, and then the third part of the suite was Regrets, which
Mm,
Army ends and with the same chords that Regrets begins with. So there is a lot of connecting kind of tissue that does make it feel very much like more of a conceptual album, certainly than their previous album, which is a good album, but very much hit filled stuff that might not connect so much. This does have a lot more connecting tissue and a lot more themes. One of the themes being death, one of the themes being sleep. Uh,
yeah.
um, and I like how you talked about how the end goes back to the beginning. OK Computer does that too, where it's the last song on OK Computer by Radiohead is "Hey man, slow down," and then the very first song is like a car crash
Oh,
happened.
yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
sort of like you could just put it on permanent repeat, and it
Hmm.
would feel like it's all flowing around in a circle. So I think this does that to some extent as well. Ben Folds 5. We'll talk. They only had three records and then split up, and then they got back together and released another album, and then they split up again.
And in
Seemingly,
between, he was sort of a solo. He was doing a solo thing, and
Yeah.
he made some pretty famous hits with as a solo artist. It wasn't "Rockin' the Suburbs" a
Yeah.
solo hit? Yeah, yeah.
Rock in the Suburbs, Still Fighting It.
Right, right.
He had that album Songs for Silverman that did pretty well, and he's had some successes as a solo artist for sure. I think when this group came out, now you've got a piano player who does most of the vocals. You do get three-part harmonies with all three of them, which I think is one of the strengths is that their voices sound very good together. There is no guitarist. There is only a bass guitarist who plays a real souped up, often very
Prominent?
distorted,
Yeah,
very dis
distorted, overmodulated. Yeah,
That's right. That's right.
yeah.
Overmodulated, distorted guitar, which we'll talk about here, and then a drummer who is a very very good drummer. And
Darren Jesse, isn't he the drummer?
yes, Darren
Yeah.
Jesse's the drummer, and did write one of the tracks on here, which we'll obviously get to. Robert Sledge on bass. He also plays his synthesizers, and obviously Sledge and Jesse are also on background vocals quite often too.
Yeah, yeah, they are. This is kind of a new thing for us in a way because so much of the music that we talk about on the Beatles podcast as well as this channel is guitar-driven rock. And
Hmm.
I can't think of a album that we've talked about that's or a group that's really piano-driven. And, we haven't talked about Billy Joel or
Elton John
Elton
or
John. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
mm.
So I'm curious, I don't really listen to a lot of piano groups. Do you? Is that a genre that you're really fond of, or?
Well, I kind of grew up on Elton John. Elton John was played a lot at my
Okay.
home, and my eldest brother is a huge fan of Elton John and got me kind of hooked on that. So yes, but think, unfortunately, that some people sort of downgrade it. People who are too cool for school,
Mm,
and particularly in the '90s, I feel
yeah.
like this group came out, and that a certain type of person who would be more into say Soundgarden and
Yeah,
kind of
grunge.
kind of harder grunge thing that are very angsty and very dark.
Yeah, yeah,
Nine Inch Nails, stuff like that. Oh, found Ben Folds, beautiful vocalist, a piano player, and sort of comes off a little bit nerdy
yeah.
and has a little bit of a sense of humor. They found this to be off-putting music to them or music. I think Ben Folds has even described it as punk rock for sissies.
Yeah, I've
Um,
seen that. No, I agree, and I think thinking about them, I think the song that I remember where they really hit it big was the song "Brick,"
mhm.
and that was I remember everybody talking about it because this is again a group that this was part of our post-college year, right around our college years where they started to become famous,
Yeah.
and it was kind of this very indie, very different sound because of that piano, and then a song about abortion.
Hmm.
Brick was. But yet it was catchy and popular. So it was kind of more intellectual, I think, in a way, and contrasting from the grunge side that was raw and based on feeling. And I find that this album to me seems very intellectual, and it strikes a lot of chords, literally and figuratively, with me
Yeah.
because of the music in it. So it is kind of a step above in a way. Uh,
Yeah. I also believe that it's a kind of earnest, emotionally open, but I don't think that that translated to people who are into like Radiohead. I love Radiohead.
oh yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm
me too.
not saying anything against Radiohead, but Radiohead is sort of more detached,
Hmm.
not necessarily a super emotional group.
No.
So I feel like that was kind of the music that was prevalent at the time was Portishead and Radiohead and things that were very much like we're cool and we're steely and we're not just being open and honest and very Ben Folds lays it all out to bear,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
particularly on this album. Additionally, the previous album had a lot of hits, a lot of radio play, a lot of pop
Yes.
hits. So I feel like there was a little bit of a backlash to this, including a horrible
Oh.
review from Pitchfork by Brett DiCrenzo.
Ooh.
And if you dig into Brett DiCrenzo, um, he's off on a lot of things. He gave The Fragile from Nine Inch Nails a two. He gave his
Mm.
Sonic Youth album a zero.
Wow.
And one of my favorite albums, Momus, Stars Forever, which is a great Momus album. He didn't like that either. But this review is trash.
Yeah. What was he get? A
And
3 out of 3.3 or something?
3.3.
Yeah.
And if you read that review, the guy's all, I'm in Chicago and I know all these guys, and I ran into Steve Albini and he was making fun of Army when it came on. And I'm like, yeah, it's lame,
Yeah.
so
And they're out of
this,
ideas. That's what I remember is that
yeah,
this album has no ideas or
it,
something.
it, it barely even talked about the
No.
songs on the album. Didn't he
No.
listen to the album very much? I
Right.
don't know. So I found it to be a disgusting review.
Yeah.
Particularly because I really like this album. And this album didn't sell very well overall. It maybe initially did kind of better because it was like, oh, a new Ben Folds album, Ben Folds 5 album. We liked the last one, but the longer sales weren't like it's not a platinum record or anything like that.
How much of that do you think is because of, we should talk about the title, because of the silliness of the title and Reinhold Messner, this is very confusing, but supposedly they used it as a fake ID. One of the guys used it as a fake ID and didn't realize it was a real person.
Yeah, the drummer in his youth, him and a lot of his friends kind of reused this fake ID that had this name Reinhold Messner that probably whoever created that ID knew of the real Reinhold Messner, who I guess is a climber or
Yeah, an
something like that.
explorer, the
Yeah.
first to climb Mount Everest, like solo. Was a big
So
explorer.
they didn't know anything about this.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, this is sort of like funny. It's like a fake version of a real person, like a fake ID is. Right before the album comes out, they find out that Reinhold Messner is a real guy, so they had to write this little weird thing in the liner notes about,
Yeah.
we were not aware of a real Reinhold Messner.
And the unauthorized biography. So I guess
Yeah,
in the notes, it's supposed to look kind of like a biography or look like,
yeah. The
yeah,
album cover
the
is
cover. Mhm.
it does look like kind of like a biography. I think it's kind of a cool cover,
Yeah, yeah,
personally. I like the color scheme.
yeah, which you are matching in your
Yeah,
shirt.
my shirts and lights.
Yeah, yeah.
Overall, I find this album, it's very underrated. I think it's a little more subtle than, I mean, not Army, but it's
No.
overall, it's a little more subtle of an album. And some of the best tracks are slow, quiet, beautiful tracks. So it didn't quite have the radio play, I don't think.
Mm.
So I think that's why it kind of didn't sell as well. But we don't care about that on
No,
this
that's not, we're
podcast.
not here to sell albums. We're here to talk
Yeah,
about them.
that's right. So let's get into a track by track here, unless you have anything else to say.
We should say it was recorded in late or throughout 1998 and then was released in 1999. So we're really on the turn of the century. And
Mhm.
this album, unlike some of their previous albums, well, I guess the other two, didn't really have overdubs. This one, it has a lot of overdubs and horns and strings and
Yeah,
the background vocals we mentioned. So
that's
it's
right.
more of a
Flugelhorn on this first
flugelhorn,
track.
yeah, more of a production than in this kind of the trio. There's a lot more going on.
I was curious to see how they replicated this album too. So I watched a
Oh, like
last
live?
late last night. I
Yeah.
watched at 1 a.m. I
Oof.
watched a Ben Folds 5 live in Tokyo concert, and they played pretty much every track on this album. I sort of
Hmm.
shuffled through to the songs of this album, and they replicated very well. partially just because they're very good trio and very good, easy playing. But a few of the tracks, the strings are now on keyboard,
Right,
played
right.
by the bass player. The strings on this album very good, I
Yeah.
think, and very not too overbearing.
No, not at all.
So, Narcolepsy is how
Yeah.
the album starts. It starts with that wonderful piano line, then kicks in with the just a blistering drum pattern and that souped up electric bass. I really like the different sections in this. It's got I should warn you, I go to
Yeah.
so that's more of a gentler thing. And then we get into this peak moment, sort of in the middle, where it's very loud and they're all playing very loud, and he's screaming, "Save me!" And the background vocals are doing a different dreams and sadness, blah blah,
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So there's a lot going on, and then that drops out, and we get into this section where he's singing "I'm Not Tired" with a little keyboard riff.
Yeah.
And
I'm not tired.
you know what that remind me of? Your favorite,
Oh.
maybe your favorite song of all time, Dave.
Uh-oh.
Rocky Mountain Way.
From a good old Joe
Joe
Walsh.
Walsh,
Yeah,
where
that's true.
it's got that section that's got that with the wah wah
Yeah, I can
um,
hear that.
guitar. So
Yeah.
yeah, I was like, oh yeah, I remember that keyboard riff. So and then there's flugelhorn on it and strings on it. So a lot of going on with the music on that.
It's very busy, and I think what struck me was the two parts, or the kind of, well, multiple parts, but the kind of back and forth. So it does, to me, it does remind me of the period because it is that grunge. You do get that grungy part when everyone's playing loudly and dissonantly, but then it drops out and it really changes texture and sound. So it's really kind of an orchestrated song in a way. It's not my favorite on the album, but it's a pretty good opener. Here's a quote from Ben Folds from Entertainment Weekly. He said, in what may or may not be a meta commentary, it opens with a very simple piano line that sounds an awful lot like the opening notes of Brick.
Mm.
Hmm. Suddenly, a single Robert Sledge bass note crashes through the placid atmosphere like a meteor, and the song shifts into a swooping string kiss space rock overture. Yeah, it's very prog, I think. It's a grand statement of any purpose as track one, announcing that the band you've grown to know is morphing into something bigger and weirder.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
pretty accurate, I think.
I know someone who has narcolepsy.
You do.
I would say an acquaintance of mine named Sarah, but I
Wow.
don't think this song's really about real narcolepsy.
No.
It's obviously metaphorical. And he is warning her when things get tough, he might disappear.
Yeah. And that's why the person who I read who critiqued this album said it seems like it starts with a death that could be a metaphor for death too, or just being completely gone. I'm going to try to stay
Mm.
up. I'm going to try to stay up, but I can't, kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Which death, obviously, big part of this album.
Yeah.
So the next track, Don't Change Your Plans. What's your take on the 5 minute and 11 second track?
Yeah. The next three, really, I'd say. I woke up in the middle of the night about three something in the morning hearing these songs because I think they're
Yeah.
outstanding
Yeah.
melodically and just incredible. I'm pretty skeptical of a lot of things, and they really swept me away. So the chorus on this one really gets me with the "Don't change your plans for me." I mean,
Yeah.
just beautiful piano, beautiful lyrics, a good song, and just a great melody.
Yeah, and then the bridge is very busy on this one.
Yeah.
It's got the three-part harmonies.
The ooh, ah,
Ah,
ah. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And his piano playing, he's very, for music people, it's very arpeggiated. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then the horn comes in doing kind of a
Yeah.
Herb Alpert kind of
That's
swanky
right.
bop
That's
bop
right.
bop bop bop
Da, da,
bop.
da, da, da.
What's funny is when they
Yeah.
played it in Tokyo, a it seemed like a military man came out
Hmm.
and played it the horn part to great joy from the audience. Once again, interesting musically.
Yeah.
Sections. It's
Yeah.
like back,
Sections.
it goes back to the soft, don't change your
You
plans with just a little wispy kind of thing.
hmm
And then it builds up to that section with all kinds of stuff going on. Another thing I like about this is it's like he's having a conversation with her. They haven't really broken up. He's
Mm.
saying, "Go ahead, move to LA. I need to be on the East Coast. I love you, but goodbye." What is great is the ending doesn't resolve on this one. It just goes
No.
do 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 because it seems like an in progress thing that is happening. So I thought that that was really fantastic. I really like the chorus where it
Yeah.
says the leaves are falling back east. That's where I'm gonna stay.
That's where I'm gonna stay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's got those different parts of the da 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 da, kind of
Mm.
happy-go-lucky, but then it gets into the slower, dramatic when he's talking to her.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is a big winner for me.
I love that song too. And now it's really one of the ones that's grown on me even
Yeah.
this but the next track might be
Oh,
my all-time favorite Ben Folds song.
fantastic.
Starts with a sort of tacky piano or different type of piano playing, but wonderful playing at the beginning of this for such a melancholy song too. It's up tempo.
And in a yeah, it's a minor key,
Yeah.
but it kind of dark on the chords. But yeah, it's very up tempo and driving.
I love the harmony vocals in the especially in the middle of this track and lyrically just amazing. I great line. I don't believe in God, so I can't be saved. It's just a
Yeah.
phenomenal conceptual song thought that sticks with you.
Yes. And again, people reading about this and you knowing what we know about Ben Folds, he had just gone through two divorces by this point.
Yeah.
It really is, one could, I don't know if it is exactly, but one could read it autobiographically with this is, was a time when I had nothing to explain. Oh, this mess I've made. Oh, this
Mhm.
mess I've made. All alone as I've learned to be in this mess I've made. Yeah, it really is personal.
The chorus that ends in this mess that I've made
Yeah.
uh happens three times. Only on the second time, it does this wonderful thing where it goes, "This mess I have made the same mistakes over
Right.
and over again."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Take that I have made and use it at the front.
It's very, very skillful and great background vocals that really bring those things out. So,
Yeah.
yeah, a really powerful song.
I think anyone who's had any relationship complications in their lifetime, which is
That means everyone.
every single human can really relate to it. I don't think Ben Folds is a Christian person or
Yeah, I don't know.
anything like that. So that line about believing in I don't believe in God, so I can't be saved. I think is
Mm,
really, for all of my mistakes I've made, I'm just gonna have to sit in it and they're my mistakes.
yeah, yeah, I own
Uh,
it.
So the next song, not written by Ben Folds, but written by Darren Jesse, and clearly written about someone he's lost or a group of people. Maybe it's a conglomerate of people that have died. And I know all of us have had people in our lives that have died, and we still feel their presence kind of around. And so of all the tracks on this album, this one's probably grown in my estimation the most over the last couple of weeks of listening to it. I just think it's wonderful. I mean, what really stands out the first listen is the la 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 la
Yeah,
with the tambourine and the timpani, which he's
yeah.
definitely playing. When they played it live, it was dum dum.
Boom, boom. You could see the, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There are a lot of great lyrics in this one. Lines on your face told us you'd never be yourself again. There's a line trading places with an angel now.
Mm,
And then, of course, the saw you last night, dance by the light of the moon. So, all of these evocative lyrics about seeing someone that you have memories of in little things in the universe. So,
Right.
wonderful, beautiful song.
Yes. So this is the first ballad really on the album, and just beautiful music, I think is what I would say, and lyrics too. But I always listen to the music more than the lyrics, and the it's tender. It's a very tender
Yeah.
song. I think that's a real contrast from the previous one, which was kind of driving, upbeat, and then Darkolepsy, of course, is very kind of grungy. But this one, it's just you can see somebody sitting outside on a night looking at the stars and just kind of thinking about their life, and with
Yeah.
these beautiful touches musically and tearjerker,
Yeah.
uh, I'd
And
say.
the moon comes back a couple times
Yes, the moon is
later,
an
and
image.
especially in the last song.
Yeah.
Definitely a song about loss.
Yes.
Mess is a song about personal regret and loss, which obviously there's a song called Regrets coming up.
Yeah.
It goes into this, so the next track is this short song, which initially was, I think, a longer piece that led into Army. And it's a
Also
nice,
pretty dark too.
yeah, it's a nice little, great sounding drums on this,
Yeah.
and a nice little piano solo on this. In fact, half of the short song is a piano solo, basically. But if you really listen to the lyrics, it's someone at a hospital who's maybe just got diagnosed with something very serious. I need a second opinion, but I don't believe that it's true. And perhaps the fright of the hospital song is what leads to um,
The single.
the single, which is the next track, Army. This guy's thinking about all of the things that he's done, and he was like, yeah, maybe I should have done this other thing. And certainly that's something I can relate to
Oh
currently
yeah.
with
Well,
work and things like that.
yeah, I think all of us have had that question, those bits of doubt in our life, looking back and wish you'd gone a different way or hadn't done some of the things you did. And this is another song that many say is autobiographical because Ben Folds, did do some of this stuff in here. And so being in the army or trying to be in a band or doing that and trying to find a way to do something with your life. And this is the reason why the album gets an explicit rating, because the second line has the F word in it, but it's not it's for a purpose. You think the music and the lyrics go together because it's a really catchy, upbeat song with lots of horns and kind of driving again, even though it's all these things like in this time of introspection, on the eve of my election, I say to my reflection, God, please spare me more rejection. It's kind of an interesting blend of music and lyrics.
Ben Folds 5 is definitely takes humor into their, that's part of what
Yeah,
they're doing.
yeah.
Steven's Last Night in Town's a good example. Very funny song on the previous album. Much similar to Frank Zappa,
Mm,
that he takes some humor, some light in the subjects that he's talking about. I love this line about the I dropped out and joined a band instead.
yeah.
And then citing artistic differences, the band broke up in May and in June reformed without me and got a different name. And
Yes,
then he's
yes.
hanging his head in shame because of it.
Right.
So I think we've all been there where some people we've worked with. I know I used to be on a comedy team, and one of those people has been on Saturday Night Live. So it's
Mm,
sort of like
mm.
that. You get left behind, other people have the success. Maybe I should have just joined the army.
Right.
And then, the dad you're saying you're high,
Yeah.
hilarious.
Great line.
And the dad comes back later, of
Yes, he
course,
does.
too. So there's that bass like ripping
Yeah.
into the bridge, and then it's a very jaunty piano, bum 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 boo doo doo,
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
like he's at the
Honky tonk almost.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, and then there's crowd noise that comes
Yep.
in, and
Yep.
when the horns come in, and it's like it becomes like more epic, kind of similar to Narcolepsy, where
It
there's these
is.
epic kind of moments. It has a celebratory feel even
Yeah.
in that section, even though that, like you're saying, that the talking is his ex-wives all despising.
Right, right. But it
So
also has that the contrasting sections again, like we heard in the earlier songs. You've got the I've been thinking a lot today, and thinking a lot. It kind of quiets down. And I think I'll write a screenplay. I'll take it to L.A. I think I'll get it done yesterday.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just really kind of interesting blending of things here. But funny thing, I didn't. He talks about Chick-fil-A, and I didn't realize that Chick-fil-A had been around. I don't know what I don't being a
Yeah,
vegetarian, I don't eat at Chick-fil-A, but I thought it was. I didn't think it was that old, but I guess it
yeah,
was. So
yeah.
1998.
And there's a little line towards the end about my redneck past is nipping at my heels.
Oh, that's coming up.
And apparently the album was finished and they were like, ugh, you gotta have one more kind of like what we expect of Ben Folds Fun song.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, well, let's take that redneck past line, and they come up with a song called Your Redneck Past, which is a sort of a bass feature and keyboard feature. And there's like a lot of like la da da do da do do do's and stuff like that. And there's some reverent lines about do you want to be Billy Idol or Cool Mo D?
Do you remember Cool Mo D?
Yeah, I do, yeah. But this sort of like idea of covering up where you're from. I have a redneck past. I'm from the country. I'm
I've
from a
been to your.
farm.
I went to your house once when we were
That's
down
right.
in.
I kind of relate to this song a little bit of like, I don't necessarily want people to know I'm a farm boy because they'll think I'm not cool or something. And I like that it's sort of like there are 100 ways to cover up your redneck past.
Yeah.
Just pick a magazine and decide what to go into. Um, However, this song doesn't quite work for me.
Yeah.
And part of it's this very odd bridge. It has like some French in
When he
it. And
speaks French, yeah, so he's saying "Désolé," sad. Je suis américain. I'm an American. Please cook my steak again. Je ne parle pas français. I don't speak French. So he's like trying to show maybe someone who took a little French in high school and is trying to show that there's something else,
hmm
and then trying to speak French, but they don't really know much about it and they just want their steak. So it
yeah.
is a little bit maybe forced.
Yeah, I think so too. And I love the first 4 or 5 songs so much
Oh yeah.
that this album does start petering out here for me.
I was
Uh,
gonna say that same thing. Yeah.
yeah. So the next track is an odd
Yeah.
track. It's 2 minutes of a very strange answering machine message that he got from his father, Dean Folds, who I
Yes.
guess when they did a reunion and a live version of this, and they had Dean Folds come out and do it on mic. So that
Right.
must have been fun to watch. But Dean Folds is talking about your. I wonder if you're taking care of your most valuable possession, your mind. And then at the very end of it, he says, and once again, another sleep theme, like, I may wake up here in a little bit and forget what I was thinking about. Just a very strange, sort of
Yeah.
sleepy thing to say. During this phone message, there's a little smooth jazz groove. So what do you think of this track?
I found it to be kind of a skipper. I
Mhm.
don't think it adds much. It's not really a song. It's kind of like you take away that phone call and it's just kind of a light instrumental or sort of jazzy, discordant instrumental.
Yeah.
And so to me, I don't find much to it. It is the second half of this album does start to kind of peter out. It's stuff like this that are more experimental that doesn't really add much for it.
And then we get the chords. Now, the chords at the beginning are regrets, and at the that are the same chords at the end of Army.
Yeah, right.
These are jazz chords, correct?
Yes, they are.
So this is more of a jazz feeling piece, this one. mixed with a little like electronic Stevie Wonder kind of
Yeah.
"Ew, do, do, do,
Yeah,
do, wee,
synthesizer. Yeah.
wee." And then bongos are on this
They're
too, which
very,
is great.
very prominent in the mix too.
Yeah, this is a strange one musically for me. So the track works for me. It's a long list of regrets. I thought I did do some traveling, never did.
Oh, I thought about sitting on the floor in second grade. I couldn't keep the pace. I thought I was the only one moving in slow motion, while the other kids knew something I did not. But if I acted a clown, I thought it'd get me through. It did, but that don't work no more.
Yeah,
You're
you're
not a
not a
kid
kid no
no
more.
more.
Yeah,
Right,
that's so I
right.
think that that's the big takeaway is like acting like a clown, which the previous record, I mean, people were like, "Oh, they're so
He is
goofy."
goofy. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the one angry dwarf and the
Right,
"Give me
right.
my money back,
Yeah,
you bitch,"
yeah.
a song. And this is more like I can't. That don't work no more.
Right, right.
Part of the evolution and sophistication, at least purported, of
Yeah.
this record. Overall, the track's a little disjointed, and it has this weird ending that kind of sort of calls back to Hospital Song,
Mm-hmm.
but not really. It's just sort of like a weird epic kind of ah
Oh, yeah, the
with some
vocals.
dun 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 dun
Yeah,
dun dun. So, but
yeah,
the solo from Hospital Song is called back.
yeah.
So, what's your big take on
Yeah, I don't really
regrets?
have much to add. I think it's catchy though.
Yeah.
I hear that because it's a stop time where it sort of breaks and regrets, regrets.
Ah, ah.
Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I like that part of it. And it has kind of a funky feel
Yeah.
kind of
There's so
thing.
many very, very fast tempo songs on this album.
Yes, there are.
Even the softer one. This is a softer kind of
Yeah,
jazz song in
yeah,
many ways, but it's also very blistering pace.
yep,
And then that kind of flows into this quieter, kind of jazzy Roland keys kind of
yeah.
thing called Jane. What's your feeling on Jane?
I think of any of the songs on the album, I forget this one. It sort of doesn't stick to me. Jane be Jane, you're better that way, not when you're trying, imitating something you think you saw. I don't know if it doesn't fit with the themes that well, but I can't remember it very well. Do you have that thought too, or is it just does it stick with you more?
I wouldn't call it a skipper, but it's a little bit more forgettable than some of the other ones. I do like the lyric, "It's your life, you can decorate it how you like. Beneath
Yeah,
your armor, in your eyes, the truth still shines." So I
true.
think that thematically makes it fit a little bit more in the
Hmm.
album. There is a lot of too of conversation between man played by Ben Folds and woman.
Yeah,
So, talking to someone else and maybe pointing out things that's wrong with them, the woman, which then the next song, it's the opposite of
yeah,
a
right.
sort of like a love song. So it is a connection there
Yeah.
between a man and woman. So I do think that it fits there. It's just a little bit of an odd song and much busier drum pattern than you'd expect to go with the do do do, with lots of cymbals and lots
Yeah,
of
it's very
stops and
active.
starts
Hmm.
too, which is maybe why it's harder to remember the
I think so. And it does it as soon as it gets going, it slows down. It just doesn't I don't know, it
yeah,
doesn't hold together as well as some of the other multi-part songs on the album.
exactly. And it ends with this weird kind of air thing, like
Yeah, I don't know what that is. Yeah.
so I don't quite know what's going on there.
No.
And then that leads to this final song,
Yeah.
co-written with Anna Goodman, his ex-wife, called,
Number one.
that's right, called, yeah, yeah, you have to specify,
Gotta specify.
called Lullaby.
Yeah. This is nice. This is a very sweet kind of again kind of a mixed tinge of the whole theme of things lost because it's a lullaby as the title would imply. Good night, sweet baby. The world has more for you than it seems. But then, you're still talking about things that have happened. It feels like there's something has happened. There's a backstory, let me put it that way, in
Yeah.
this. Even though there's also a weird line about oh
James Earl
yeah,
Jones.
James Earl Jones. Yeah, that's a strange line in there. Uncle Earl, or the rain had chilled me to the bone. Just the three of us took flight that night. Uncle Richard, me, and James Earl Jones. So that's a great line. I like this one musically, and I think it's a good album closer, not only for the theme, but just musically it fits.
Yeah, and it feels like he's flying away
Yeah,
to maybe back to the East Coast.
that's right.
It is a song of connection. Really weird but wonderful line where the pilot gave me a blanket and sang to me in rich tones, "Good
Yeah.
night." And then the moonlight comes back
That's a
again,
great,
so that kind of connects to things
yep.
he's lost. I think it's a good bookend to the album, and definitely the best track on the second side
Yeah.
of
I
the
mean,
record.
how does it compare to the Beatles' "Good Night" as a good night closer or a lullaby closer?
Yeah.
No.
Shh, shh. Yeah.
Good night,
I don't know.
Julian.
Yeah, maybe we've got to do good night songs. Like
I think so.
we'll drudge up all the good nights that
Yeah,
we could
yeah.
find, the lullabies and good nights.
I think we got to do that. Yeah,
We'll do
there's a
our
bunch of them.
ranking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the album.
Yeah.
Overall, I really like the album, and especially the first half of it
Yeah.
is just a great.
And it's short. It's only, I think the second part of the album, because I don't relate as much, feels like kind of a little bit draggy. But
Mhm.
really, the whole album is 40 minutes. So it's
Yeah. I
not,
went,
yeah.
this was the quickest I'd done notes on
Yeah.
anything we've ever done because
Yeah.
I listened to it a lot and I knew this album very much. Used to listen to this on CD, which you can see the
Yeah.
CD behind me there. I used to listen to this a lot in my car as I
Oh,
was
yeah.
driving, and so I knew it pretty well. I went and I put my headphones in, and I've been cat sitting
Oh.
for somewhat for my neighbor. And I went over there. I walked in, didn't see the one cat, saw the other cat sitting on the bed, just kind of looked at me, didn't move at all. No, nothing like, oh, we're getting food or any of that. And then I went, I sat, I had my headphones in, I played the whole album and took notes on my phone. And then 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then I was done, and then I got up and I went, and the cat's just right in the same spot.
Still checking you
Still,
out.
still, still like I can't be bothered to like go and play or get
Silly
pet
human. Yeah.
or oh my food's here now or anything like that. So I found that all very
Yeah.
amusing. But I really relate to this album a lot. I there's some universal sort of struggles of life that really shine through in this album. So I like it a lot. I probably give it like a eight, maybe seven and
Mm-hmm.
a half, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Definitely not. Would you give it a 3.3?
No, that guy was way off. I don't know if he was, and it was from the time, wasn't it? I think it was right in
Yeah.
the run of the album came out. He must have been
Yes.
had a grudge.
If you read the review too, I think it's offensive at the beginning.
Hmm.
Like he's talking about Catherine Zeta-Jones's butt,
I know
just
it is pretty bad.
all kinds of really like disgusting things. So
Yeah.
I found it to be very flippant. Sometimes reviewers, they get the job of reviewer and they're like, I can do whatever I want and who
Yeah.
cares? And they're not taking it seriously. And they're
Right.
not like really like going in and digging into the music like we do.
Yeah, exactly. So
We're better than all
we're
reviewers.
better than
Okay.
that. I know, absolutely. No, I'm
Yeah.
with you. I think I'll give it a seven just because of the flagging momentum. But that first
Yeah.
side particularly is really fantastic. And interesting that this was the last of their trilogy, their first three trilogy albums,
Yeah.
and but very different. It shows a maturity level. Yeah, would have been interesting to see where it went, but then Ben Folds went solo. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Well, one last note on this. Record Store Day 2017, a really pristine, cut by Kevin Gray copy of the vinyl came out. It's time to get it back out, guys,
yeah,
because I'd love to have it on vinyl. a wonderful album. I have the recently Whatever Never Amen. Their previous
Oh,
great record came out on vinyl, so I have that. And I just walked over to the store just to kind of flip through my local shop, and you can get Whatever and Ever Amen. You can get some of the Ben Folds solo stuff, but
but
no
not this one.
Reinhold Messner. Let's get it back out there, guys.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. I think a lot of people would be interested to hear it again. It's aged well, let's say that.
Yeah, yes. I
Yeah.
agree. So that's it for this installment of Song Album Career. Now we have another channel. It is I've Got a Beatles podcast, a long-running podcast. We're coming up on episode 250, which we're about to record, which will be a
Yeah.
very, very exciting, very long. Our most asked for episode
Oh,
is
can't
what this
wait.
is going to be, and we cannot wait to do it for particular fans. Please go to our channel. If you're on our YouTube channel here, of course, like and subscribe and all that kind of things. Please raise our subscriber numbers up a little bit. Tell your friends about it. And if you hate it, tell your enemies about it. Also, go to I've Got a Beatles podcast on YouTube or we're on Podbean or anywhere else you get your podcast where we talk all the worlds of the Beatles and Beatle friends and all of the new releases that come out from the Beatles and songs of the Beatles, and we really dig in there. So, but we'll be back with another song or album or career very soon.